One exercise that remarkably tends to boost people's deadlifts, single leg deadlifts.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm glad you went there
Just
first.
a good old single leg deadlift with dumbbells, or even starting with body weight, getting really good at it, and then adding weight with dumbbells. You would be surprised at how stable and strong you felt with your traditional deadlift after practicing single leg deadlifts.
I would challenge advanced lifters there too. I think that
Probably.
that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's an ego thing why they avoid it.
Exactly, because it's, okay, if I'm a 500-pound deadlifter, to go grab 100-pound dumbbells and do a single leg.
You ain't gonna be able to do it.
Well, yeah,
most guys won't.
Right, that'll be hard. That's hard as shit, and then that's humbling, right? So you have to go grab 60s and start with 60s and work your way up. But I think some of the best I ever felt deadlifting was when I was simultaneously also including heavy single leg deadlift. I just felt like you said, you feel so stable and strong lifting.
Yeah, I think another one though, like specifically as it pertained to what I was dealing with my QL and that slight shift left to right, I think a lot of lifters don't really consider. I would take a heavy dumbbell or a heavy kettlebell and I would do like a suitcase carries down and back, and just really kind of working on making sure that my body is able to fully stabilize and I can activate my obliques and keep everything centered as much as possible.
Yeah, along those lines,
stability.
Lateral stability.
And along those lines, heavy farmer walks. Heavy farmer walks with a trap bar or with dumbbells. I always feel so much more solid and strong with my deadlifts when I incorporate those into my workouts. Another one is good mornings. Done properly, good mornings really work on that hip hinge and hip extension and that stabilization of the lower spine. And then here's an exercise a lot of people don't even realize can actually improve your deadlift: windmills. Just working up to a weighted windmill where you actually have weight in the arm that's straight up in the air and where you can go down and twist to help with that lateral stability, which a lot of people get. This is how they hurt themselves when they deadlift, is that the weight shifts just a little bit. They don't have the lateral stability to support the weight that they're lifting, and they hurt themselves. Or their body, because remember, your body oftentimes will prevent itself from lifting more weight because of its own fear of injury. So you may actually have the strength to lift more or possess the strength to lift more, but your body's not allowing you to get it. It's not allowing you to tap into it because
it's a safety mechanism.
It's a safety mechanism.
Another great hip thrust.
Oh, right.
Hip thrust. So when I'm working with someone on a deadlift, one of the hardest things is to get them to understand that we're trying to generate power from the hips, and you're thrusting forward in a deadlift. You're not lifting the bar up, because it looks like, to the average person, when you look at a deadlift, it's like, oh, you bend over, you pick the bar up.
You're picking it up with your upper body.
Right. When it's a lever exercise.
Yeah, I imagine I'm pushing my feet through the floor and hips forward.
Yeah, and you're thrusting the hips forward. And so good old hip thrust are a great way to get people to really understand the mechanics of what you're trying to do, because you're opposing gravity in a hip thrust. It's much easier for them to understand, oh, I'm driving the hips up in the air, squeezing the glutes. But that's exactly what you're trying to do when you're doing a deadlift, and you get into that hinged position, is you're thrusting the hips forward instead of up like on a hip thrust. So working on your hip thrust mechanics and getting really good and strong doing a hip thrust will carry over into a deadlift many times for most people, even advanced lifters. If you progress your hip thrust and you start hip thrusting, 400 or 500 plus pounds, you'll see a nice carryover into your deadlift. And for sure for beginner lifters, I think that's a great exercise.
And then finally, squats, barbell squats. It's funny. I've had it, and I've seen this many times, where my deadlift numbers will go up, but my squat numbers don't. Rarely does the reverse happen for me. My squat goes up. Typically, my deadlift numbers go up again as well. So, and again, this depends on the lifter. Some people are better at squatting than they are at deadlifting. But if you're better at deadlifting than squatting, or you feel much more comfortable deadlifting, try improving your squat and then watch what happens to your deadlift.